The moment the daring hero is hanging from the edge of the cliff, thinking to himself, what could be worse than this, is the moment that something gets worse. The rock he's holding to begins to crack. Someone starts shooting at him, and then it starts to rain. I felt like I was in just such a predicament the day of my freshman orientation at Chesterton Academy. Coming from a devout Catholic homeschooling family, I had grown up going to Mass 3 days a week in addition to Sundays, praying morning, afternoon, and evening prayer daily, having my teacher's undivided attention during lessons, and not having much of a social life. Despite this, by my 7th grade year, I had really begun to regard most of our religious practices as a waste of my time. So when my parents told me that I would be going to Chesterton for high school, I was very excited. I thought, there is no way anything could be as bad as homeschooling. The day of orientation, I was feeling very positive and excited to start this new chapter in my life. Well, I was happy until I found out that no, we wouldn't be going to Mass 3 days a week. We'd be going all 5. But then I thought to myself, okay, what could be worse than that? Maybe finding out that we wouldn't be praying 3 times a day, but we'd be praying before every single class. And we'd be required to go on a Lent and Advent retreat, as well as a class retreat every year. Were those bullets whizzing past my head? Despite these somewhat unpleasant surprises, I was still very excited to be with people my own age for 7 hours a day. It was a welcome change from spending all day with my 4 wonderful younger siblings. But having had very limited experience with peers, I found it a little bit more difficult than I had thought to fit in. And that's the moment that I felt the rain start. During my first year at Chesterton, I changed drastically. I had never worn a tie before going to high school. But within the first week of school, I was already asking my mom to buy me ties to wear to Mass on Sunday. I learned what it was like to talk to girls that weren't my mom or my sister. And I also learned, a little bit painfully, about the virtue of punctuality from Miss Bormis. I could already feel myself being drawn into the Chesterton community, but I could also feel that I was missing something. During Mass, I daydreamed about how good lunch would taste right after it. During prayer, I noticed my classmates were praying, but I still saw loving God as a burden that I did not deserve to carry. Sure, I stayed after Mass to pray, but it was more to fit in than anything else. Because in my view, the longer you stayed after Mass to pray, the holier you seemed, and therefore the better you must be. So I would sit there and look at the stained glass windows and just ponder how holy I must seem. Going into my sophomore year, I really felt like I was on top of my game. I enjoyed school. I felt that I was being appreciated for my awesomeness. And I was gaining popularity amongst my peers. But there was still a problem. I didn't care about who I really was, but only how people regarded me. I started to make bad decisions, and by the end of my sophomore year, I was in a bad place. My poor decisions had gotten me into trouble with the administration, with my family, but most importantly with God. I felt that I was completely alone and that I had nothing left. It was at this low point that something changed for me. In the words of Rick Warren, you never know God is all you need until God is all you have. I had spent these past 2 years pushing God away, but I now realized that he was the only thing I was really missing. That's when God reached down and pulled me up to safety. He met me where I was and showed me how much he had blessed me with friends, teachers, and family. The way I was treated by the administration at this low point really exemplified this. Rather than giving me the punishment that I deserved, they responded with compassion and patience. This witness of mercy and charity really speaks to the heart of what Chesterton Academy is. It's a training ground for life in our ever-changing world. And as our former headmaster, Mr. Oli, said, it's better that you make your mistakes here, where we can help you fix them, than later in life when we can't. The faculty and staff of Chesterton Academy are clearly not here to get rich. They are here because they want to help get their students to heaven. The curriculum at Chesterton is like no other. It is designed to show how every pursuit of knowledge leads us back to God, the source of all knowledge. Had I not had the amazing teachers and friends to call me on to more, I would have continued to live the same empty, shallow, self-centered life that I had been living. I realized that I'm not a hero hanging from the edge of the cliff, but rather I'm a man standing at the bottom of an immense mountain called virtue that I must climb. Living a life of true Catholic virtue in today's world is definitely not easy. But thankfully, Chesterton Academy does not prepare its students for ease. It prepares them for greatness. Whether that greatness be navigating the secular corporate world, experiencing the crucible of good seminary formation, getting 7 kids out the door on a Sunday morning to go to Mass, or hanging from the edge of a cliff while being shot at in the rain, we will be ready for greatness. Thank you.